Why do we keep Shabbat? What is the Sabbath? Why do we keep and follow Torah? How do we keep Torah? Who is Yahusha? Who is Yahuwah? Are Yahusha and Yahuwah the same? What are the commandments that we follow today? Is there a difference between the Tanakh, the Old Testament, and the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament? Are they one book? Or are they two books? All these questions and more are answered as we step into our new Q&A forum. Join us as we walk through the pages of the Father's Word, rightly dividing truth to answer burning questions vital to every believer.
Go ahead, Emeka.
Yeah, I was gonna mention a couple things. Well, actually, one that a lot of people speak on, and it's dealing with that verse where it talks about the law that came 430 years later, right?
Galatians. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I had a conversation, and I wish I had as you were speaking, this kind of came to me. When we're talking about the law that came 430 years later, it wasn't the law of circumcision that came 430 years later. It was, for me, I see that as the law of it was uh, the law of sacrifice. We see the instruction of sacrifice is one of the laws that came 430 years after Abraham and the covenant that was made. And so we see that, you know um just was wondering if that was part of the law that Paul was talking about. you know um but it just came to my mind right now also that he said, like, that the law doesn't disannul the promise or something like that.
Right.
So what do you feel like it was, the law of sacrifice? Like, what laws do you feel that he was talking about, the laws that came 430 years later?
Right. So, I'm sorry. Is JP here?
I know we're going way off topic, so
Yeah, I think we answered like 5 other questions, but he's probably busy.
Yes,
So we'll,
sir. I'm here, sir.
I was gonna say, so we'll keep going. Um, I'm gonna answer this one question, and then we could go to the next question. All right, JP?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. All right. So, Emeka mentioned a quote from Galatians chapter 3. Yeah. Uh, yeah, it's Galatians chapter 3. And the emphasis of Galatians chapter 3 is the promise, is faith over the keeping of certain commands, right? Now, of all commands, actually. He was trying to emphasize on faith, but there was a battle of the Galatians that they were told to go through the Levitical process. Go to the temple, go present yourself before the priest, offer a sacrifice. They were told to go towards that. Now, in scripture, it doesn't really say, until it gives you the specifics. There's interchangeable statements where it says Torah and then it says sacrifice, Torah and then it says circumcision, Torah and then it says priests, Torah and then it says temple. So the when we're looking at what came now, here's what he wanted to emphasize on. This is Galatians chapter 3, starting from verse 17, right? Or starting from verse 15. It says, brothers, as a man I say it, a covenant, even though it is a man's, yet if it is confirmed, no one sets it aside or adds to it. But the promises were spoken to Abraham and to his seed. He does not say to seeds as of many, but as of one, and to your seed, who is Messiah. So the promises to Abraham, and then the promises also to his seed, which was Messiah, right? Remember, Messiah was before Abraham. So watch this. Verse 17, it says, "Now this I say, Torah that came 430 years later does not annul a covenant previously confirmed to Elohim in Messiah, so as to do away with the promise." So this is what's happening. Because they were emphasizing on the promise that was given to Abraham through Messiah, because they were preaching the promises of Abraham through Messiah at that present time, individuals were saying, no, you're not saved unless you go to the Levitical process. You have to get circumcised by the priest, you have to offer up a sacrifice at the temple, and you have to be presented before the Levitical priest. So this is the process of salvation that they kept on trying to push on the new converts. You can see that in Acts chapter 15. Acts chapter 15 tells you the whole problem that they had with trying to force the Gentiles to obtain salvation outside of faith, like Abraham did. So what Paul is doing is he's expressing Abraham received all these things before there was a Torah, before he got a Torah, before he was even instructed. He said, "You believe in me, I'll make you a father of many nations." Then he obeyed because he believed the promise. But let's look at this a little bit more. Let's look at verse 18, Galatians 3:18. It says, "For if the inheritance is by Torah, it is no longer by promise, but Elohim gave it to Abraham through a promise. Why then the Torah? It was added because of transgression until the seed should come to whom the promise was made, and it was ordained through messengers in the hand of a mediator. The mediator, however, is not of one, but Elohim is one. Is the Torah then against the promises of Elohim? Let it not be. For if a Torah had been given that was able to make one alive, truly righteousness would have been by the Torah. But the scripture has shut all mankind under sin, that the promise by belief in Yahushua, Messiah, might be given to those who believe." All right, so I think that's pretty clear. This translation actually explains it pretty good. So he's not saying that Torah has anything to do with your faith of you receiving the promise from Yah, but he's not nullifying the Torah that was given after either. So he says that it was given until the seed should come to whom the promise was made. So the promise was made to the Messiah. So that's why in Galatians, is this Galatians 3? Look at verse 29, the last verse of verse 29. It says, "If you are of Messiah, then you are Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise." It does not say, "If you are of Abraham, then you are Messiah's, then you are with Messiah." No, it says it the other way around, because Messiah made it clear, before Abraham was, I am. So he said that the promise was already given to Messiah before Abraham got the promise. Messiah was already promised in Genesis chapter 3. It was promised before Genesis chapter 3. It's the plan of redemption. So it's trying to let us know that the faith in Messiah has always been the establishment of the covenant. It has never been the actions of a Torah or instruction. So he's emphasizing on the fact that 430 years later, there began a Levitical priesthood. There began a structure of sacrifices, because there have been sacrifices since Adam. Because remember, Cain and Abel was actually offering sacrifice in the evening, during the time of the evening sacrifice. So when we're looking at Torah, there was exactly like what Emeka said. There was a structure. When you look through Leviticus, there was a structure on sacrifices that was given that had to be performed at a certain location where the temple was, and you did not administer the blood. It was the priest, the Levitical priest, that had to administer the blood in order for this service to be accepted by Yah. This is what was added 430 years later, not the moral aspects of the Torah. Thou shalt not kill, was that added 430 years later? No, because Cain said they're going to kill me because I did wrong. So how did Cain know that you shouldn't kill? Because the commandment was given, don't kill. You understand? So The principle is clear. All these moral aspects of Torah are principles of character. All these demonstrations are shadows of Messiah. So there's a difference. Messiah came to fulfill Torah. There's emphasis on shadows that were fulfilled in him, but there's moral aspects of Torah that he puts in you. He doesn't put stone your brother in your heart, but he says, I will write my law in your heart and in your mind. He's not putting take his tooth, eye for eye. He's not putting that inside your heart. What is he putting in there? Love, joy, peace. He's putting the fruit of the Ruach. What does it say about Torah? Torah is actually love. Love Yah, love your neighbor. What does Samuel say? Obedience is better than sacrifice. But aren't I supposed to obey sacrifices? There's a difference. One is a shadow, one is your character. I rather you obey me than offer blood animals, because the blood animal was a shadow. I rather you actually do it in your heart, in your mind. You see what I'm saying? So there's a reality and then there's a figurative. The Levitical priesthood, the tabernacle, and the sacrifices was given 430 years after Abraham in order to present a demonstration to people that could not walk the way that Yah wanted them to walk. So Yahushua came and fulfilled that shadow in order to bring us back to the walk that he gave to Abraham. So Galatians chapter 3, we're actually going to start going through Galatians the men is going to start going through Galatians. Sorry, everybody else. So like you said, Brother Emeka, when you look through the book of Acts, when you look through the book of Galatians, you'll see, when you look through the book of Romans, the issue wasn't with the whole Torah. The issue was with the Torah aspects that dealt with the Levitical priest at the temple, dealing with sacrifices and priesthood duties. That's what was the issue with the Pharisaical converts. When they became converts, they said that you could not be saved unless you offered sacrifices and unless you were circumcised. They were removing themselves away from the promise like Abraham was, and they were emphasizing on the shadow, not even the law, the shadow of the law that was given in order to be that which was given to fulfill later on. But Galatians 3 is when connected to Galatians 2, 3, and 4 is very clear as to what's going on. Just sometimes the wording in certain translations kind of bring that idea that the whole Torah was like some type of afterthought, I hope that was clear.
Shalom, Akuti, and Brohim. Thank you so much for viewing this video. We hope it was helpful to your walk in the truth. Remember to always search the scriptures on your own, to study Abba's word and show yourself approved, according to 2 Timothy 2:15. We invite you to study with us. To join us in a live study, just go to our website at assemblyofyahuwah.com and click the Join Us tab. We have something available Wednesday through Saturday of every week. If you've been Baruch or blessed by this video today or any other study, we encourage you to go to the Giving tab on our website. Our elders all have their own ways of income, so none of the giving or proceeds go to them. Instead, it goes to biblical assembly needs. We also encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss any new videos. We sincerely pray that Abba continues to direct your path as you acknowledge Him in all your ways. Much avaha, and again, shalom.